Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Big Bold You, a show that is dedicated to inspiring every person out there. And yes, I am talking directly to you to play bigger in your life because you can, and the world needs each and every one of us to play as big as possible. We want to encourage you to be bolder, which means that you are going to have to step out of your comfort zone. You're going to have to become comfortable at being uncomfortable. I promise you, you can do it because we want you to become the best version of you. Now, every Monday, I typically am on at 3 p.m. Central. Today, I'm on at 11 a.m. Central because we've got a very special guest. Our guest today is Mrs. Kathy Fogarty. She is an author, a speaker, and a happy grandma. And she happens to be a just incredibly close, dear friend of mine. So, Kathy, welcome to the show.
Well, thank you, Jens. It is an honor, and I'm just so grateful. And you have just inspired me, and Lord has used you in my life in so many beautiful ways.
Well, you know what? Here's the thing is we know because we're both faith-based people that there are no accidents.
No.
There are no accidents. The things that are happening to you in your life, good, bad, they're going to serve a purpose. And the people that you have come into your life, there's a reason.
Right.
And that reason might be to teach you a lesson. That reason might be, there's a reason for everything, and it's either a season or it's a lifetime.
Right.
And I believe with everything in my being that you are one of those people in my life that will be there for a lifetime.
Same here.
So tell everybody a little bit about who you are.
Well, I live in Arkansas, and I'm close to my children and grandchildren, and I have the opportunity to watch them during the day along with a couple of other children. And as I've mentioned before to Jens, I've loved the word happy and anything to do with happy.
Right. And you are happy. You are happy.
Since high school. And so a lot of people do call me the happy grandma since
Yeah.
I'm a grandma now.
You were happy when happy wasn't cool, right? I mean, because
Yeah.
there's a big, huge happiness movement, and we're both part of that as well.
Yes.
But you just have been happy all your
Yeah.
life.
And you know what? I believe now that I'm older and looking back that back then God was preparing me.
Oh,
Using
yes.
those things, even though it was happy faces, those fun things.
Right. And you've got your happy
Yeah,
face
I've got
necklace
my
on.
happy face necklace on.
Because it's a reminder. Here's the thing. People don't realize, you're a happy person, I'm a happy person. But we don't realize how many people out there aren't happy. And we want to help you become happy because it's so important.
Right.
So really, you are, you're, like you said, you're an author, you're a speaker, you're a happy grandma. But this mission that you're on with your book, I want to talk about that book. God's
Yeah.
Got This.
Well, I never would have thought that the loss of my granddaughter, Briley Faith, would lead to me writing a book. And, nobody ever wishes for that.
No.
But because of our family and the faith and the strength that we had, it's one of those typical days. What you're
There's
seeing
the
right
book.
now, is my book with a dear friend who came to a book launch. But with one of those typical days. I mean, we weren't expecting this at all. She passed away. She never took a breath on her own, but she had spinal muscular atrophy. There she is. Isn't she precious?
That's beautiful.
It's a disease that attacks the muscles. And so here we are, all the family in the waiting room, and typical cheerful excitement, waiting, and they call us back. And as soon as we come into the room, we set our cameras down. We knew it was different. And we knew, though, after we heard the complications, that we needed to start with prayer. So we just laid everything down, and that's how we started. And by starting with that, in my son, and it's in the book of how he came to saying, God's got this. And that is the title of the book.
Oh, I just got chills. I just got chills because, at every hard time in our lives, God does have it. And a lot of times we want to take it all on ourselves, and
Yeah.
we can't.
No.
And that's why you get so overwhelmed, and that's why you can't get up, because you can't do it. And I just think it's incredible that you had that experience, and you took the good out of the experience, and it strengthened you
Yes.
and your family.
Yes.
And a couple things. Was she named before she passed?
Yes.
So that's incredible that her
Yes.
middle name, you already named her. They
Faith.
had already named her Faith.
And we capitalize it on purpose, and we always have. But I mean, there again, God preparing. If we listen, if we slow down, if we reflect, we look back, He's preparing us for these struggles to
Always,
come.
always. That's one of the things I say all the time is we're in preparation now for something that we're going to do in the future.
Yes.
We have been in preparation in the past for something that we're supposed to do right now, and just go for it. A lot of times I will say when people are sharing things with me, or I'm going through hard times, and believe me, we all do.
Yes, we do.
We all do, okay? I always say to myself, I'm being prepared. I'm being prepared.
Yes.
And for what? I don't know.
Right.
I don't
Right.
know.
And
But
sometimes it's to share your story
exactly
with someone else who will be
who's
going through the same thing.
100%. Now, how long from the loss of your grandchild to you starting to write the book?
Well, she passed away in December of 2012, and through a series, I wasn't planning on writing a book at all.
No, I'm sure you weren't.
I actually, through the encouragement of my brother, I started a blog called Briley's Daily Dose, and it was mainly just healing for me. And then over time, there were my brother and my daughter-in-law had said, "Have you ever thought about writing a book?" And I said, "No." And then at Briley's celebration service, in the blog, I addressed myself as Grandma, and there were several people that I did not know that came to me and said, "I read your blog. Have you ever thought about writing a book?" And so I knew that God was speaking, and that's how it came about.
That's, here's the thing I think is amazing is to your point, we go through hard times, and it's when we verbalize and share our struggles, our obstacles, our path, our lessons. It's when other people that are going through the same thing that they just haven't got to that point where they're exposing themselves, because that's what you're exposing yourself. You're opening yourself. You're becoming vulnerable. But everybody is feeling those same thoughts and
Yes.
feelings, and it's not just therapeutic for you, but it's therapeutic for so many
Yes.
other people.
One thing that I've learned, is happiness is a choice,
100%.
but joy is a discipline.
Yes,
So
I love that.
So even though happy has been my favorite word, I love happy. I do have sad times.
Sure.
But because of having that discipline over time, you don't go through or have depression in overnight.
No, of course.
So whenever you are seeking the joy, trying to find that joy, it's not going to happen all the ways overnight. But as you develop these habits that help you, then you get through it quicker.
Right. And here's the thing. Happiness and sadness, it's on a continuum. So if we said they're happy as a level 1 through 10 and sad as a level 1 through 10, in order for us to feel a happy 10, you have to experience it sad 10. And I remember I was in college when I was it was actually a Bible study, and I was in college, and the professor was explaining that concept. And I got really, really excited, because in my childhood, I'm like, well, I think I've had a 20 sad. And I'm like, yes, there are good days coming.
Yes,
But
yes.
to your point, it's when you understand that You have to have the sad times to be able to experience the happy
Right,
times.
right.
You have to go through the sad times because that's what makes us be able to feel empathy for other people.
Exactly. Yes.
It's
I've
part
always said,
of it.
right, you can't minister to others until you've been ministered to.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You can't really understand what someone has gone through unless you've experienced that sadness. And obviously, if you've experienced something very similar, it's a lot easier to connect. But even any level of deep sadness or
Exactly.
struggle,
Yeah.
and you can relate to other people in that way. Okay, you talk about your blog. Do you still write your blog?
Every now and then, I'll jump in there.
Now, how do we find the blog?
It's
Okay.
briley'sdailydose.blogspot.com.
Okay, and so we're going to put that in the comment box because we want Briley's Daily Dose dot
Blogspot.com.
blogspot.com. Okay, we want you to be able to access that and go back. We also want people to be able to go and find your book. How can they do that?
Either through me, I think we have an email address that we'll put in
Put
there
up there.
too, and or Amazon. You just go to Amazon.com and look up this book right here. God's got this.
God's got this. Now, you've got 5 happy habits.
Yes.
Talk to us about what those 5 happy habits are that lead to joy.
Well, first, for me, what has I have received, I'm a child of God. That's the first thing, and but you have to recognize what is your this. The book is titled "God's Got This." Well, our this during that time was the journey through the life and loss of my granddaughter. But through our life, we go through different thises. So you've got to recognize it first.
Right, exactly.
Recognize what your struggle is. Why am I sad? And I've had those thoughts before. Well, why I should be happy. Why
Right.
am I sad? And sometimes for us ladies, it just takes a hormone shot and a piece of chocolate, and we're fine. You just go on your happy way. But
That's right.
most of the time, it's much deeper than that.
Well, and to me, the important thing that you said there about recognize is it's self-awareness.
Yes.
Recognizing it's self-awareness, and it is uncomfortable for people if you're not used to it. One of the things I say, and I know I've said this to you, but if something bad happens to me or something I just don't like, maybe it's not bad, I just don't like it. The first thing I say to myself is, what did I do? What did I do or not do that contributed to this result?
Right.
And it's self-awareness.
Right.
And if I'm feeling a certain way, to your point, we've got to recognize and find out what is the cause.
Right.
And typically, does have something to do with us. And to your point, sometimes we are freaking out about something that a little hormone shot or a piece of chocolate will cure, but we're making it a bigger deal.
Yeah.
So it's like recognizing, is this something that really is not that big a deal,
Right.
or is this something that really
needs attention.
I love that. So number 1 is recognize,
Right.
self-awareness.
And then we have resist. What is that you always say about good and evil?
What I say is, we live in a world where there is a war between good and evil.
Right.
And the only way evil wins is when good people don't do enough.
Right. Well, in the Bible it says the enemy comes to kill, steal, and destroy. And so there are scriptures and there's word in the Bible then that we can access that help us to resist that. And what I use is the armor of God.
Right.
And that is in Ephesians 6:10 through 18. And also listen. Listen to, God speaks to me. And there was one time in particular that I was, when we still lived in Texas, I was in the kitchen. I was very sad. Very sad. I had gone through an experience that affected me. I was not happy, but I was sitting there, and it was like God was right there in the kitchen with me and spoke to me, and He said, but it was something someone else did that affected me. He said, "Don't live in other people's choices, because it's taking away the joy I'm trying to give you today.
That is so
I have
true.
used that so much.
That's so true,
because
Kathy.
they made the choice to do
Right.
something, not me.
Exactly. Exactly.
And it's my joy,
Right.
and to keep it. But you also talk about people that we were around, how it could be positive or negative.
100%. You know, you are the sum of the 5 people that you associate with the most. And I say, if you leave the presence of somebody and you don't feel good, that's not the right person for you to be around.
Right.
You know, whenever I get off the phone with Kathy, I am either in tears of joy or I just had the biggest smile on my face, because that's how you're supposed to feel when you leave the presence of the people that you're supposed to
Yeah.
associate with. So it's really, I think, you know, when you say resist, to me, it's 2 things: resisting the temptations of going down an unproductive, unhealthy path.
Yes.
And it's also, don't resist the goodness that God or some other people are trying to give you.
Right,
You know,
right.
it's
Receive it.
receive it, which I'm sure, you know, she told me, Kathy said, look, I've got 5 points that lead to joy and happiness, and they're all starting with R's.
And it's amazing because if there's a word with an R and a W
Right.
in it, don't ask me to say it. But it
Right.
just so happened that I have
That's
R's today. The other thing is reflect.
Yes.
One thing that had helped me, there was a time where my husband and I were going through some major financial struggles. And then all of a sudden, groceries would show up on our doorstep. A check would come in the mail. And I started taking pictures. I'd lay all those groceries out on the table, and I'd take a picture of that, or take a picture of this check that came in the mail unexpectedly, just different things. And I made a file folder on my computer called God's Proof.
I love that, Kathy.
And through that, I can reflect.
Yes.
You know, we need to let God's faithfulness define our future.
I love that.
And so that helped me to get through what I was going through at that time too.
And you know, to me, that even the question I asked myself, you know, what did I do or not do? I mean, that's reflection. You know, I'm real big into planning. Everybody knows that. My master's is in training and development, so I'm a master planner. And that's really, when people say, how do you do as much as you do? It's because I'm a master planner, but I'm always reviewing, and that's reflecting, because, you know, even at the end of the day, if we will reflect on the miracles,
the good
things,
yes.
and just even, you know, to me, I say hurting people hurt others.
That's true.
And so when I'm reflecting on even people that have done something that maybe wasn't too nice, you know, or maybe, I think, first of all, I always say, was that their intent?
Right.
You know, the reflection is, do I believe they intended to hurt my feelings? Do I believe that you know, what was the intent? You know, and then reflecting on, well, gosh, for them to be able to do that or to say that, or what are they going through?
Right.
And I think that we really do. We've got to reflect on all the good, and reflect really the accurate perspective of what is really going on.
Right. And pray for, I have to pray for clarity
Yes.
and discernment. And,
So important.
And that helps too. But also, my next R is revisit. And reason I say revisit, and I'm going to get into what my revisit is, but the reason I say revisit is because our this might change, and you might have to go back and revisit. What my revisit is I dwell in God's word, in seeking him and asking him to reveal his promises that I need to get through that particular struggle. And just feast on it daily. And my go-to, actually, since when we were in the waiting room, waiting on Briley to be born, the scripture that just kept going in my mind was in Psalms 119, 105, thy word is a lamp unto my feet, a light unto my path. I knew I would need guidance through this.
But that was while you were waiting in the waiting room. You didn't even know what was going on.
No, but it just
But
came
it's
to me.
just couldn't.
So revisiting, seeking, going to God's Word is what helped me. And by doing that, the next R is restore. And so what I do is I write those promises on a 3x5 card, along with affirmations. I have affirmations too, but my scripture, and post them wherever I need to be reminded of them daily. Life gets in the way, and we have to have those reminders out there.
Oh, we have 100% daily. I mean, I said this. I love you so much, Kathy, and I
honey, you're gonna
love,
make me cry now.
I love Kathy. She was on. We just had our annual event, the Beauty Brains and Business event, and you and I were talking about it. I'm even thinking about changing the name because it's just
much
doesn't
deeper.
reflect. It's so
No.
much deeper than that. But that's another revisit, reflect, restore, refocus. But one of the things that we were talking about at the event is really just how we do change and we do grow, and we have a responsibility. We each and all of us, we have got a responsibility, and sometimes when we are so caught up in our own world, it's hard for us to be able to pour into other people.
Right.
It's hard for us to be able to really use our gifts and our blessings and our talents to help other people.
Right.
And so this is something that is daily. What I said at the event was, look, there have been times in my life where I was in tip-top shape, and not that I'm not in good shape now. I'm just saying,
you are pretty good shape, sister.
but even better shape than. And I would think to myself, I think, how come we can't just stay there? How come our results just can't stay? We get results. How come they just can't maintain all on their own? Well, because they don't.
Right.
And you can argue that, or you can just accept it, and you just have to accept it. And what I love about these 5 R's is if you just accept that this is going to be things that you're going to have to go over on a daily, weekly, monthly, annual basis, and just accept it, that this is how you have to live your life if you want to be happy, if you want to experience joy.
And about the different thises, something that you did yesterday at the event was just phenomenal about standing for your brothers and sisters. Share that. That was
Listen,
amazing.
so and this is actually an exercise from Rachel Hollis. That's where I got it from. And it's an opportunity for people to stand up for other people's pains, and for people to stand up for people that have experienced extreme loss and grief and obstacles and mental health issues and potential suicide attempts, thinking of suicide. And that's something that you and I are really, we're passionate about, because there's an epidemic of suicide. It's the number 2 leading cause of death for people ages 15 through 34. And, things happen, and your heart gets touched where, my older sister tried to commit suicide when she was 16 years old. And it just has impacted me that we've got to love on other people so much. It was the focus of our show last week was on suicide, with the Thomas family coming and speaking of their loss with Ella. And we want to honor Ella. We want to honor every person that has died by suicide and honor the families. But we want to make this issue better.
Exactly. Like get to them before those thoughts come.
Exactly.
Part of the armor, which we started out with resist, is the helmet of salvation, which is taking every thought captive. It's amazing what our mind can do.
Well, one of the things that I would just, you can't get to everything. And one of the things I wanted to talk about at the event was humans have a special power that the animal kingdom or the plant kingdom does not have. And a couple things. Number one is we have the power and the ability to evaluate our thoughts. And you've talked about that a lot, and I've talked about it a lot today, is you can have a thought and you can stop and evaluate it and say, does this thought serve me? Does this
That's good.
thought, is this thought going to take me closer to my goals, or is it going to take me away from my goals? Animals can't do that. They
Right.
don't have that. Then the other gift that humans have that no other kingdom has is we have the magic of imagination, where we can imagine our lives exactly the way we want them, and we can create our lives to be exactly the way we want. And that's really what
Right.
you're doing.
Right. Something recently that it's just funny. I think God is comical a lot of times too, because I'll get these thoughts and think, "Are you serious?"
Right.
But so here I am preparing for the event that we had, and going clothes shopping, and just discouraged and trying on clothes and stuff, and then a thought came to me while I was thinking about that, is don't limit your successes by your imperfections.
That is so good.
And success for someone might be just getting out of bed in the morning.
Exactly.
And so God made us perfect in His power, in His will there's perfection.
Right.
So I said to myself, well, I'm just a different perfect.
Exactly.
Yeah, so
Exactly.
everybody is a different perfect. You follow God's will for your life, and it's not going to be easy.
I love that thought. I love that perspective, because here's the thing. Our happiness, our success, everything in life is 100% dependent on our perspective and how we think. And it's not until we can change our perspective, either on our own because we read a book, we meet somebody incredible and they pour into us and we listen, we have an experience, but we have to change the way we think first before anything in our lives really change. To transform someone's life, we've got to change the way you think. And a different kind of perfect, I think, is
I think that's going to be one of my next books.
because here's the thing is, what's perfect for me is going to be different from you. And we, comparing, and I think you're so great at this. We can't compare ourselves to other people. You can't. When you start to compare yourselves to other people, number one, you're confusing your own self-identity, and don't do that, because that's just going to make things difficult and more hard. But you have to really say, look, if my perfect for today is getting up out of bed and
Right.
getting dressed, going to work, doing something kind for somebody else, whatever it is, your situation is different than what your neighbor's situation is. And you can't compare yourself to other people, because you don't know what they're going through. Now, you might look at Kathy right here and think, man, Kathy,
crazy.
no. You might think Kathy's got it all together, and she might walk out this door and there might be so many things that you're dealing with and that you're struggling with, but we don't talk about that all the time. But people are. That was one of with the stand-up activity that we did. One of the things that people said the most was, it was so amazing to see that I'm not alone.
Right.
That I'm not alone, that other people think the same way, that other people have experienced the same things. One of them was one of the statements that so many people in the room stood up for was they've experienced infidelity. So many people stood up. The other thing was, and of course this was completely anonymous, and you filled out these forms. It was anonymous. We mixed the papers up. Everybody got different people's papers. But another one that I was blown away with was the number of people that stood up when it said, I've experienced domestic violence. I have witnessed or experienced domestic violence.
I'm telling you, I thank the Lord for my husband every day, and I shared yesterday was just Jen's husband is just there too, just right by her side, and it is so important for us to have that. They're our spine, and I just encourage others out there, whether you're the wife or the husband.
Right.
We're partners.
I think that's so important too. And I loved it that you made that point at the event on Saturday, because it's true that number one, success doesn't happen alone. We have to have other people to help us succeed. It's crazy to think that we could do it by ourselves. We can't. But the impact that a partner has, and I'm going to tell you, I was coaching someone one-on-one, and this was somebody that had been through divorce, and so they were single, and it was really revealed to me the importance of having a partner. And I was thinking, now this person isn't married, but this person still needs a strong partner. And that partner could be me. That partner could be somebody else in this person's life. But if you are by yourself, if you don't have a spouse, or if you have a spouse that maybe isn't supporting you at this time, it's not always going to be that way. Now, it might be that your spouse decides to step up and start to support you, or it might be that you get another spouse. I'm just saying, I'm not encouraging anything. I'm just saying, have faith that you work on yourself and that support will come, but you do need a partner. You need a partner. I don't want to say a partner in crime. You want a partner in fun and a partner in happy.
Yeah.
But
Support.
you do need that strong spine, and you got to be a strong spine to somebody else.
Right.
Totally.
Yeah. And on the 5 points, after we've gone through those and we renew. We are renewed.
I love it.
And every day is renewal. So by resisting, reflecting, revisiting, and restoring, a renewing of our faith is established. And, over time, as you do this, that's whenever it becomes a habit. I remember one time when someone that I had mentored, just like my little sister, just loved her, and no matter when she called, I would talk to her. And but something happened on the phone one day where I was just attacked. And girl, I wanted to be mad so bad, and I couldn't. I couldn't get angry. But that's one of the times where I realized, oh my goodness, these habits, what I've been doing,
Right.
has prevented that.
Right.
It doesn't add to my life to be angry.
No, and the importance of habits is we think the same thoughts. 90% of the things that we think are exactly the same every day. So when you talk about habits, it does take discipline, and it takes time to retrain your brain. We actually have neuronal pathways that are etched into our brain the way we think. So when you take in these 5 steps and then you add that renew, and you do it day after day after day after day after day, those habits of choosing your thoughts, those habits of reflecting, of recognizing, of restoring and renewing, it's just you immediately, your go-to is to be that way.
Yes.
And what an incredible gift and blessing that is. And I will say, to close up, because I want to give you the last parting words before we close. But to close up, I am so grateful that my parents instilled in me
Yes.
this way of life. I'm so grateful that the decisions and choices that I've made in my life, even though there have been some pretty bad ones, there have also been some pretty good
We've
ones.
all had them, sister.
I've also had some pretty good ones. But the way to manage your thoughts and the desire to always grow and develop and to help people and to choose happiness, those have been decisions that have blessed my life, and they've led me to people like you and attracted people like you into my life. And I thank you from the bottom of my heart for being such a incredible impact and example and friend to me. And I love you.
I'm going to need that tissue. But you hit on something. Your vibe attracts your tribe.
100%.
It does. And I guess what I would like to leave with today, when we did that, stand up for your brothers and sisters, exercise, the sheet that I had a lot of things checked and had some notes written on it that I immediately felt like I took them on. And that's what we're to do
Right.
for each other, is to take them on, to stand up. So what I'd like to leave is whatever your this is, just remember that God's got it. And to use these habits, it might be just one. Start with one habit, or just smile. Just smile your way through it.
Right, exactly.
Even if you have to force it, but don't let the darkness overtake the light. Don't let the darkness overtake the light. There's something good for you. There is happy for everyone. And Jens, I love you dearly, and I thank you for this opportunity. You bring a lot of happy to my life.
Well, thank you so much. I love you. And I love each and every one of you out there that are watching. And we encourage you, if you haven't subscribed to the Gens Johnson YouTube channel, please do so. If anything that we've shared today has touched your heart and you believe that can make a positive impact on someone else's life, please share it. We are here to make this world a better place. We can't do it alone. It takes all of us. So until we meet again next Monday at 3 p.m. Central, be big, be bold, and most importantly, be you. Bye-bye.